wonder how many of you have heard of this book, All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Anybody? A bunch of you do. More important maybe, are there any soon-to-be kindergartners in the room? Yeah? Few? Yeah, all right, there's some. You're about to learn a lot of stuff apparently. This book was written in 1986 by a Unitarian minister, and he compiled some of the things that we learned when we're really, really small that actually could serve us well the rest of our lives if we would just remember them. I looked it up last week, and this book has 24,000 ratings on the site Goodreads, and an average of 4 out of 5 stars. So clearly, we learn some important stuff, and then as time goes on, we overcomplicate things, right? It's kind of the lesson of growing up. All this week, I've been thinking about this book here at Summer Blast, and I've been thinking about the lessons that we were learning. We just heard about these. And I think if we could just learn to live by this stuff, if we could actually do this stuff, it's pretty simple, isn't it? I mean, this isn't lofty stuff. It's kindergarten wisdom. But if we could actually live by these things, love, be kind, forgive, pray, serve, if we could actually do these things, the world would be a different place, wouldn't it? We tend to complicate things as we get older. Now, there is one piece of kindergarten wisdom that I bet all of us have held on to, something called the golden rule. Anybody know that, the golden rule? Yeah, the golden rule, here it is. No, not that rule, Mr. T. It's not the man with the gold rules. That's not how it goes. Anyone know the golden rule, how it actually goes? Say it with me. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This is a piece of kindergarten wisdom that I think a lot of us have managed to hold on to. We know it. You all did pretty well, even if we know different variations of it. But what we might not realize is that the golden rule, it actually comes straight out of the mouth of Jesus. See, unlike a lot of the things that we think are in the Bible that aren't actually in the Bible at all, there are plenty of those things. This comes straight out of Luke chapter 6. I'll show you the context for when Jesus said this. Here's what he says. He says, but to those of you who are listening, if you got ears to hear, I say to you, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. If someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other one also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from them. Give to everyone who asks you. And if anyone takes what belongs to you, don't demand it back. Here it is. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Now, I think because we've heard these words for so long, probably since kindergarten, I think we forget how revolutionary these words must have been to the people who heard them. When Jesus first said these words, they were brand new. This was a brand new way of thinking. This wasn't just kind of like, oh yeah, everybody knows that, it's obvious. This was a whole new way of thinking. I'll tell you what I mean. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a history lesson. Over the course of the world, there have been these different philosophies that have guided people. The first one was called the iron rule. And the iron rule is might makes right. Got it? The iron rule is might makes right. That means if you've got the power, if you've got the strength, then you can do whatever you want. If you're the person in charge, then no one better say anything. You've got a right to do whatever it is that you want to do. You can think of people throughout history like the Egyptian pharaohs, if you know that part of the Bible, or Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, one of the great conquerors who came through and took all these different nations captive and destroyed their cities. You can think of people like Alexander the Great or Julius Caesar, or you can even think of someone like this guy, Lord Farquaad, if you know him from Shrek, someone who has the power, and so they think they can treat anyone the way they want, however they want. They can do whatever they want just because they're the person in power. That's the iron rule. And for a long time, history was governed by the iron rule. Then some time went on, and people started to get a conscience about this, to say, hey, it's not okay to live might makes right. Just because you're in power, you can treat people however you want. That doesn't seem right. And so this ethical or moral framework came in, the silver rule. It's kind of a mouthful. What you do not wish done to you, do not do to others. Lots of knots there. But basically, like if you don't want to be treated some way in life, then hey, don't treat other people that way. And while you had people like the Pharaohs and Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon and Alexander the Great living by might makes right, Greek philosophers, Jewish rabbis, different religious figures started to come in and say, wait a minute. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And we're called to treat people better. If those examples are a little out of reach for you, I think of this guy. I think of Pooh Bear. Not a bad guy, right? Or a bear. He would never hurt anybody on purpose. Doesn't want to mistreat anybody, but he's not exactly the most helpful guy. He's a little lazy, a little too worried about finding honey for himself, but he would never actively do anything to cause harm to someone else. And the silver rule, when that came onto the world stage, it was a pretty big deal. In fact, a lot of the Bible, especially the Old Testament, is silver rule kind of stuff. Here in the 10 Commandments, or here today, we're looking at Deuteronomy 24 because it's really close to what we're talking about in our Road Tested series. Listen to what Moses is told by God, and he speaks it to the people. He says, when you make a loan of any kind to your neighbor, do not go into their house to get what is offered to you as a pledge. So this is kind of the security for the loan or the collateral for the loan. You would take something to be like, hey, you owe me, and this is a sign that you owe me. But when you make a loan to someone, do not just go into their house and grab that thing and take what you want. Instead, stay outside and let the neighbor to whom you're making the loan bring the pledge out to you. Like, don't be grabby, don't be demanding. That's not polite, that's not kind. If the neighbor is poor, do not go to sleep with their pledge in your possession. Rather, if they lend you your cloak because they're poor, they don't have much else of value, return their cloak by sunset so that neighbor may sleep in it. Otherwise, they'll be cold, right? Just because they're poor doesn't mean they should have to sleep in the cold. Then they will thank you, and it will be regarded as a righteous act in the sight of the Lord your God. Do not take advantage of a hired worker who is poor and needy, whether that worker is a fellow Israelite or a foreigner residing in one of your towns. Pay them their wages each day before sunset, because they are poor and they're counting on it. Otherwise, they may cry out to the Lord against you, and you will be guilty of sin. So again, just because you've got the power and you've got the money and someone's poor and you hire them, doesn't mean you can mistreat them. Don't withhold their wages. Give them what they need. Have compassion for them. This one's kind of different. Parents are not to be put to death for their children. Can I get an amen? Thank God. Nor children be put to death for their parents. Kids, this is your turn. Amen, right? Each one will die for their own sin. What this just means is each person will be held accountable for their own sin. You don't get to take vengeance on family members because someone did something wrong to you. And that was the way of the world for a long time. Like if someone did something wrong to you, you could harm anyone in their family. Do not deprive the foreigner or the fatherless of justice, or take the cloak of a widow as a pledge. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you from there. That is why I command you to do these things. Now, you can imagine that in an iron rule world, where I told you about that, where might makes right, you can imagine how revolutionary these words were. Suddenly to be said, hey, just because you've got the power in a situation doesn't mean you should do whatever you want. Just because someone's poor doesn't mean you can mistreat them. Just because someone owes you something doesn't mean you can go into their house and start grabbing things to take for yourself. And I think this is sometimes with all this silver rule words in the Old Testament, I think this is why sometimes the Old Testament's hard for us to understand. I think this is why sometimes God in the Old Testament is hard to understand, because here's what God is doing. He's taking us from an iron rule world where the only rule people know is might makes right. And God is saying, no, we can do better. Let's not treat each other in an iron rule way. He says instead, let's take it a step further. And he says, so start to think about what doesn't feel good for you and how you don't like to be treated, and then make sure that you don't inflict that on other people. He was making the world a step better. But then Jesus comes onto the scene. Anyone get one of those this week? Find any one of those this week? They were all over campus. Jesus comes onto the scene, and he says, you know what? No. Like as good as this is, the silver rule. Because the silver rule, you see it, this is really about justice or fairness. And if we can live by justice or fairness, that can really improve the state of our relationships. Living this way is terrible. But if we can live by the silver rule, that's gonna improve things in the world. But Jesus says we can actually do better. And with this little mini history lesson in mind now, I wanna go back and I wanna see the words that Jesus said, the context that Jesus gave us in Luke chapter 6. And I really want you to think about how revolutionary these words must have been, coming from an iron rule kind of world to a silver rule kind of world. Not only that, I want you to think about how if we really lived these words out, how much different our world would be. But to you who are listening, if you've got ears to hear this, because this isn't for everybody, not everyone's gonna buy into this, Jesus says. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. And if someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also. If someone takes your coat, go ahead and give the shirt off your back to them. Give to anyone who asks you, and if anyone takes what belongs to you, just let them have it. Don't demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Do you hear how revolutionary this must have been? Not only that, but do you hear in these words true road-tested wisdom? That if applied, if lived out, could change the world. Not only could it change the world, but maybe a little closer to home, it could change the quality of all of our relationships. That's what I want to spend a little bit of time talking about today. Not just how living out the golden rule makes the world better. Yes, that's true, but how it can make every one of your relationships better. But the problem is, even though it's kindergarten wisdom, few of us actually want to live this way. For a couple of reasons. The first one, you'll notice in all of Jesus's examples that he's not referring to moments when two people are being really good to each other or good-willed or civilized. That's not the context that he gives. Every one of the examples that he gives, someone is being good to someone else who is being just awful. Here's a quick recap of some of the things Jesus says. Do good to others even when the other is hating you, cursing you, mistreating you, slapping you in the face. I don't know about you, but there's nothing that gets my blood boiling like being slapped in the face. My sisters found that out for me the hard way growing up. Even if it wasn't a hard slap, there's just something about it that I just can't handle. Stealing from you. See, Jesus isn't saying, hey, hold the door for the person who held the door for you, because that's pretty easy, right? In every one of these examples, Jesus is saying, hey, even when someone's actively causing harm to you, do good to them. Now you might be wondering oh gosh, what does that mean? Well, there may be moments where someone who chronically, consistently is doing this stuff to you and you've got to draw a boundary and you should do that prayerfully with good counsel. But Jesus is saying, hey, you know what? Don't be so quick just to match the energy that someone else gives to you or to treat someone in the way that they're treating you. See, a lot of us want to take the golden rule and we want to change it to this. We wish Jesus said this. If Jesus said this, it would be easy. Do unto others as they have done unto you. That would be easy, right? Do unto others as they've done to you. That just means that if someone's kind to you, well, be kind to them. But if your sister hits you, you can hit her back. No, that's not what Jesus said. But this is kind of how we think about it. This is what makes sense to us. Do unto others as they've done unto you. So if my spouse stops trying in our relationship, then that means I don't have to try. If everyone at work is being lazy and not really bringing their best, then why do I have to do that? And you see how that seems much more natural to our thinking? My kids, when they were little, we had this rule, and the rule was always give your friends the very best. And what that meant was if they had a friend over for a play date, anyone know what a play date is? Okay, just checking to see if you're still with me. Okay. If they had a friend over who was here on a play date, and kids, I think this is a great rule, and they had two of something. They maybe had 2 dolls or 2 trucks or 2 bikes. The rule in our house was if there's one that's kind of nicer or better, give your friend that one and you play with the other one. So while you're playing, you give your friend the better one to play with, and you play with a one that wasn't quite as good. And my kids hated that rule because they wanted to play with a good one. This was their house. This was their stuff. Why shouldn't they play with a good one? But eventually they figured out like this is a good rule. This is a good way to treat your friends. It's generous, it's kind, it's hospitable. They eventually learned to love this rule, that when people came over to our house, we gave our friends the very best. But I remember there was a time for every one of them, all 3 of them, where they would come home from a play date at someone else's house and they were irate, saying, I was the friend and they didn't give me the very best. And you can imagine, like, that would make you mad, right? If you play by one set of rules and then you go to your friend's house and they keep the best for themselves, like that seems horribly unfair. The basis of the rule written this way is justice, fairness. But the problem with the rule, as Jesus actually said it, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, is that this rule, justice doesn't seem to apply there the way Jesus actually said it. We're told to do good even to those who don't deserve it. And this almost makes no sense. Almost. This is just a side note for those of you who are podcast listeners. This guy is just going through all the podcast interview circuits. So if you listen to podcasts who interview people, you probably heard him. His name is James Kimmel Jr., not to be confused with the Late Show host Jimmy Kimmel. But that's how you can remember his name, James Kimmel Jr. He's a lecturer at Yale. He's written a book recently. He's also a lawyer. He's written a book recently about understanding the world's deadliest addiction and how to overcome it. It's called The Science of Revenge. And he talks about, it's fascinating, he talks about how revenge is one of the most addictive things for our brain. That just like an illicit drug, we're drawn to revenge. But he also talks about how just like with illicit drugs, the results of giving into that desire for revenge is completely destructive. And interestingly, he even talks about legal revenge, the justice system, as being a thing that we think is gonna help us feel better when someone wrongs us. But often even justice, even legal justice, leaves us empty. See, if justice is the high bar for us, if that's all we can ask for in our relationships, then that's pretty good. But if we're only asking for justice, if that's as far as we're willing to go, the way you treat me, I'll treat you. If you don't treat me that way, then I'm gonna treat you the same way you do. If it's about that kind of equality or fairness or justice, then that doesn't actually make anything better. It might sustain things if we weren't sinful people. It could maybe keep things just as they are, but it doesn't improve anything. I want you to hear how Jesus says it later on in Luke after he gives us the golden rule. He says, here's the rationale. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners, and by the way, we're all sinners, but in this day, Jesus was referring to, not himself, but the way the population talked about this is the sinners were the other people, the non-Jewish people, the non-believers. They called them sinners. So Jesus is just using their label in a way that they would understand, but we're all sinners. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even non-believers love those who love them. And if you do good to those who are good to you, if you just match that goodness with more goodness, then how does that make the world a better place? Like, how is that to your credit? What does that change or improve? Even the non-believers, even the sinners do that. And if you lend to those from whom you expect repayment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners, expecting to be repaid in full. No, don't do it that way, Jesus says. Love your enemies is what I'm telling you to do, right? Don't just come up to their level, go beyond. Do good to them and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. And here's why you should do it. Because then your reward will be great and you will be children of the Most High. Now, when Jesus talks about a reward here, maybe he's talking about when we stand before him on the last day and he'll make up all of the injustice in the world and repay what has been taken from us. But I think there's a nearer reward here too. The true reward of living this way, even though it doesn't always make sense to us all the time, the true reward is that we get to live, if we live this way, we get to live in a better world. We get to experience better relationships. Not only that, but Jesus says we will also image God. We'll reflect who God is to the world around us. People will see what God is really like. And here's what he's like, Jesus says. He's a God who is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, Jesus says, just as your Father is merciful. The second reason that it's hard to actually live out this kindergarten wisdom of the golden rule, that we don't want to take this advice from Jesus, is not only because he's telling us that we should do good to those, next screen for me, please. Do good to those who are mistreating you, no matter how they're treating you. But the other reason this is hard is because Jesus says, and I want you to do it first. Have you ever been in a stalemate in a relationship where things weren't good in the relationship, but no one wanted to go first, to do the kinder thing, the better thing, to live out the golden rule? Where you're kind of stuck in this matching thing, like I'm only gonna give you what you give me, and I'm not gonna go first because I went first the last time, and I'm not gonna be kinder to you than you have been to me in my life. Has anyone experienced that kind of stalemate? Come on, let's be honest today. We're in church. God sees you. He knows your hearts. Right? We do this all the time. We get in a stalemate because we're just trying to match, and no one wants to go first. Here's what I want you to understand. Please understand this. Someone has already gone first. When Jesus says that God is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked, and then he says, be merciful just as your Father in heaven is merciful. What he's telling us is someone has already repaid your wickedness, your ingratitude with kindness, with mercy. And by the way, that guy's name is the very one who is speaking these words. His name is Jesus. And so when we're in those stalemates and we think, I'm not gonna go first, I'm tired of going first. You just gotta remember, you're not going first. You're never going first. Jesus went first. At best, all you're doing is paying forward the kindness that he's shown to you. But here's the problem. Most of us walk around through life with this main character energy. We like to imagine that we're the good guys in the story and everyone else is minor characters or worse, they're the bad guys, but we're the good guys. But here Jesus reminds us that, you know what, sometimes you, even though you love God, sometimes you're people who are ungrateful. Sometimes you act in ways that are downright wicked. In fact, I want you to close your eyes right now. Close your eyes. And I just want you to reflect on your last week. Today's Sunday. Last Sunday, it was Father's Day. Maybe you got outside. Maybe you went to a sporting activity. Maybe went to the pool. The next day was Monday. You're driving around. You're going to work. You're driving summer blast. You're fighting over parking spaces, whatever that looks like for you. I want you to think through your week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I want you to think specifically about moments when maybe you were entitled, or you were ungrateful. I want you to think about moments when you were unreasonable or unkind, when you were unfair. I want you to think about moments where you were downright hurtful. where you really wounded someone, just take a moment and confess those, admit those, that you're not always a good guy. You're not always bringing good things into the world. And I want to ask you, when you face that kind of stuff, what is it that you want in those moments? You can open your eyes. What is it that you want in those moments? Don't you want understanding? Don't you want compassion? Don't you want empathy? You want someone to understand that you didn't mean it, you're just having a bad day, or that you're frustrated, or you're dealing with a lot in your life, or you were distracted, right? Don't you want understanding and compassion and empathy? More than that, don't you want forgiveness? Do you really want to have to answer for and give account for every bad thing that you do in your life? Don't you want mercy? And I'm here to tell you today, if those are the things that you want, you already have it. Someone has gone ahead and he has given those things to you. Jesus came and he encountered all kinds of mistreatment, and yet he just poured out love and forgiveness on you, on the world, mercy, compassion, understanding. He understands when you're having a bad day and you're treating everyone terribly. And you know what? He doesn't treat you terribly. He treats you with love and compassion. And so he's asking you in your good moments, because you're not going to do this perfectly, but in your good moments, in your best moments, to rise above just the call of justice, to match how other people are treating you. And he's asking you instead to do unto others as he has done to you. And if you can do that in your best moments, if you can treat people better than they deserve, then here's what's gonna happen. Your relationships, by and large, all of your relationships, maybe a few outliers, but your relationships will become unquestionably better. And not only will your relationships, but so will the world. Pray with me. Father in heaven, thank you for sending us Jesus to show us the way. That the way of justice, of the silver rule, is as good as that is, it's not enough to make things better. So Father, thanks for going first. Thanks for sending your son. Thanks for loving us, even when we don't deserve it. Father, I pray that today, this week, that you would give us moments where we're inclined to do the normal thing that we do in a relationship, but by your Spirit, you call us higher. You call us to test you and to try out doing better, to be like Jesus to someone else. Lord, I pray for our relationships that they would improve. Lord, I pray for our world right now, as we're in a world that's just seems to be filled with so much iron rule kind of stuff. And it's kind of scary to live in a world like that, Lord. I pray that you would bring your influence, your presence, your peace into the world, that you would continue to call us, all of us as citizens of this world, to something better. But Lord, start here with each one of us. I pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you for joining us and being part of our online Pathfinder community.
If you're new here, or even if you've been here for a little while, you can find helpful links to resources in the description below or at our website, pathfinderstl.org. And while you're there, you can also find our message podcasts, which allow you to listen to the weekend message on the go. So whether you're out road tripping, doing whatever you do during the summer, you'll never miss out on any message content from us.
So let's live it out and love others. You never know how this experience could bless someone. So hit that share button and send it to someone. Hit that subscribe button, like, and comment. Every interaction helps the gospel of Jesus spread.
And finally, we wouldn't be able to do what we do here, like Summer Blast, without you. So if you'd like to support our ministry with a gift, you can do so at pathfinderstl.org/giving. It's your generosity that allows us to just keep doing ministry.
Thanks again for spending this time with us today. We hope you have a fantastic week.